Holy shit. That was like the craziest episode of The Walking Dead I've ever seen. This is gonna be my review for The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 16A. And, oh my god, guys, this episode was so intense. So intense, and probably, again, as I said, the craziest episode I have ever seen. There was like one crazy scene after another in this episode. And I really like the way they ended. This was the season finale, so it had to be crazy, but still, this was crazier, I think, than the mid-season finale, which I'm still recovering from. But this episode definitely was it was so good. By far the best episode of the season, without a doubt. Definitely the best episode of the season. Just so intense, so much shit went down the episode. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what happens in Season 5 now, because the way they ended this episode, I'm really looking forward to Season 5. This episode is primarily focuses on Rick. Rick is actually the main focus of this whole episode. Not just Rick, Carl, and Michonne, but mainly just Rick himself, and him coming to terms with himself, and basically him trying to kind of build himself up and basically try to be the new leader of the group, because we see in the very beginning, we see a fence and gate open for a car driving into the prison, and see a flashback, and Herschel is just watching everyone do their day-to-day task, and we get a lot of Herschel flashbacks in this episode, probably because, again, Rick is trying to take over and be the new leader, basically. That's what he wants to do. So we see Rick, he's shaking, and he's sitting by a truck, and he's covered in blood, and we don't know how he got there or why he's there, but, we find out later. So, we see Rick, Michonne, and Carl make something to eat. Rick decides to go check the snares, and Carl comes along with him, and Rick tells Michonne to come along as well. Rick mentions that they will stay a day or two to rest up more, and Carl feels like they're close to Terminus, and Rick confirms that they are, and Carl asks if they will let the new people, what they have done, and Rick says they will tell them, they will tell the new people what they've done. They will tell them who they are, and Carl questions who they actually are. That was what the whole theme of this episode is. Who are we, basically? A walker comes out of nowhere, and Michonne goes ahead, cuts off his head. Rick goes over, finds that one of the snares caught a rabbit. He shows Carl how he makes the noose to catch the rabbits. And then it gets really intense here because Carl hears a man screaming. Carl runs after the sounds. He sees a guy surrounded by walkers. Rick stops Carl, and the guy gets his face eaten because he says there's no saving him. He basically said to Carl, you can't save this guy. He's already gonna die. So yeah, that was definitely really intense. Right away, we get something really intense in the episode. So Rick takes Carl. They all run away. The walkers are following them, and Rick finds a group of walkers and smashes their heads in. It's just like one intense scene after another in this episode. And then we get another flashback after this. Now, at first, I didn't understand the point of the flashbacks, but again, I think I understand the point of them now. We see Herschel telling Rick that he never keeps up with time anymore, and that everything is in the now. And Beth comes and takes Judith, and Herschel assures Rick he won't need his gun and holster. And now back to the present, where we have Rick and Michonne killing all the walkers. They then start running away from the big herd. So then Carl sees an empty car ahead, and the three go up to it. And Michonne walks up to a walker on the ground and stabs in the head. Carl's sleeping in the car. Rick and Michonne are outside talking about how they are really hungry and they want food. They haven't eaten in days. And Rick feels like it will take another day to get to Terminus. So Rick questions if the new place will really let people in. And then out of nowhere comes Joe and all those men. And he comes out of nowhere and he points a gun right to Rick's head and says, you screwed up. And, that's where I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get intense. That was the first moment I was thinking that. Because, seriously, it really just, that was so intense for that moment there. That was like the very first, really intense moment of this episode. So Joe says that they will count down the ball dropper. Daryl comes out, and then before anything back comes up, Daryl comes out of nowhere, and he tells them to hold up. And so Daryl reunites with, Rick, Carl, and Michonne. And Daryl says that these people must be let go, and that they are good. And Joe says that Lou would disagree since he was strangled in a bathroom. And Daryl says he gets it and tells Joe to take it from him. Joe says that Rick killed their friend, and believes Daryl is lying about them being good. Daryl is being beaten against a car at this point, pulls a knife to his neck, and Rick says it was just him. And Joe says they will kill Daryl, Carl, and then Michonne. And Rick is watching the man attack Carl. Rick then repeats to let him go. He keeps saying, let him go, and he won't. And Rick knocks his head at the guy, firing his gun near his ear. Rick then gets up and is hit by Joe. And Carl is trying to escape while the guy's on top of him. Rick is watching everything go on. He's trying to get up, but then bites Joe's neck and rips it open. Like, Rick's a cannibal at this point. I'm like, Rick, what are you doing? He literally bit his neck. And then Michonne picks a gun and shoots up one of the men. And then Daryl then beats the 2 others to death. Rick tells the man to let go of his son. And then Rick is so upset, he stabs the guy with the knife several times. And he has so much anger. And he's just so upset about everything that he just didn't know, what else to do. So he stabbed him in the neck a bunch of times, and that was just really intense right there. I didn't know. I was like, Rick, what are you doing? I was like, he was turning into a cannibal here. I gotta agree with all but Mike 18. Like, Rick was going full-on cannibal here. It was nuts. I didn't know what was going on. So at this point, everyone's pretty terrified of Rick. But before that, we saw another flashback of Rick talking with Herschel. And Herschel says that they can grow their own food by planting seeds, and Herschel talks to Rick to teach others how to farm like he is planning, and Rick mentions people need him. And Herschel mentions it's been 2 months and that they are fine. And then Herschel mentions that Carl needs his father. Rick is now sitting at the car, and then we see Rick at the car shaking. And just like the beginning of the episode, we now know why. He's covered in blood and everything. He's all by himself while the others are inside the car. And Daryl comes back from the woods, uses some water on a rag so Daryl can clean the blood off his face. And then we get a very touching scene from Rick and Daryl. Definitely, I love this scene from Rick and Daryl. It was definitely a great way to reunite them, and I really like where they're going with Rick and Daryl. Because, in that scene, I will say this, in that scene where Rick ripped open, Rick became the ultimate badass in that scene. Seriously, he did. He was so badass in that scene. It was really awesome. So Rick asks how Daryl ended up with them. And Daryl mentions that how he was with Beth for a while, and Rick asks if she's dead, and Daryl says she's just gone, and after that he was found by the men, and that he felt, we know that whole story. But Daryl mentions how they were looking for some guy he didn't know was Rick, and Daryl had no idea what they could do, and Rick says it's not his fault, and Rick says being together again as a group is everything. And then Rick tells Daryl that he is his brother, basically. And Daryl says that anybody would have done what he did. And Rick says, not exactly. Daryl says something happened and it wasn't him. Just a very sweet scene between the two of them. And Rick says that it is him, and that is why he's there now. He wants to keep Carl safe, and that is all that matters to him. He basically just told, it looks like Daryl and Rick might be, working together, possibly. And I'm looking forward to seeing them work together, and, Rick is as much of a badass as Daryl now, it seems. Definitely seems that way after that scene. Definitely. So, Rick asks Michonne if she's okay, and she says yes, she is. Rick then mentions he's okay, and Michonne tells him she knows. Daryl says they will be there before sundown. They then go into the woods just in case. They find some fence looking into Terminus. Rick tells them to spread out and watch for a wall. And, he says to get ready. Rick asks Carl if he wants to stick with him. And Carl is basically terrified of Rick right now because he just saw his father, eat some guy, stab a guy in the neck a bunch of times. He's pretty much terrified of Rick. He doesn't know what he's going to do next. Michonne asks why he didn't want to go. And, Michonne says that Carl never asked why her son died. He never actually mentioned that. And Michonne reveals why her son died. And this scene just, it was making me cry here. Michonne says they went to a camp. Her boyfriend was bitter, and she mentions letting them turn. And she made it that they couldn't bite and scratch, and even putting chains against their necks. She mentions dragging them around with her. She found out that they kept her safe and hid her from the walkers. And Michonne says that she was gone for a long time, but Andrea and Rick brought her back. Even Carl himself did too. And Michonne says she has seen Carl look at Rick lately, and she assures him he doesn't have to be afraid of Rick. And I really love that scene, because Carl was kind of afraid of Rick, but we realized that Rick did all this stuff just to protect Carl. He will do whatever he wants to do. And I love seeing that in this episode, that basically, Rick will do anything to protect Carl. Carl is his main priority, and he will do anything to keep him safe. So, I love that scene. I love the way that worked out. That was just really, really effective there. So Carl mentions how Rick told him that he was proud of him, and Carl says that he still has thoughts that he isn't what his father thinks he is, and believing Carl thinks he's just another monster. And then Rick pulls out a bag full of guns. He puts all his weapons inside of it just in case something bad happens. He digs them under the ground at a certain place. The four of them are now beyond the fence. They hear some talking going on. They go inside, seeing some people inside talking to a radio advertising Terminus. So they made it to Terminus. But at this point I'm thinking, where are all of the others? That's what I'm thinking. At this point I thought they killed all the others and they ate them all. But Rick walks in and he says hi to all of them. The people question if they are robbers, and Rick says he wanted to see them before they saw their group. They're welcome to Terminus. Rick introduces all four of them, and the guy asks if they are there for Sanctuary. Someone named Alex comes over and is going to ask them a few questions. And they ask to see all their weapons first. Actually, his name was Gareth. Gareth definitely seemed like a very, interesting character. I knew this was too good to be true. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is too good to be true. Terminus is definitely not going to be safe. It's way too early in the show for this to happen. I knew something, and knowing that this was the finale made me even more thinking something bad is going to happen here. Rick takes his gun out, puts it on the ground. The others follow. They are then searched to have anything on them. They mentions they are not stupid and that they shouldn't try anything stupid, and they are given their weapons back. So Gareth takes them out and is showing them around. He mentions how many people have come. A woman named Mary fixes the people up a plate, and at this point I'm just like, don't eat it. It's probably, and I'm thinking, that is probably raw human flesh, so do not eat that. So Michonne, I didn't know what to think there. Michonne asked why they let people in. Alex and Gareth mentions the more people, the stronger they get, and it makes them survive. Rick hits the guy, and he finds a stopwatch from his pocket, and he says, where did you get this stopwatch? And it's actually Herschel's, which he gave to Glenn. And then we get another flashback. We see Patrick. You remember Patrick from the first episode and the second episode when he was a zombie? We see Patrick, and he thanks Rick for getting them and mentions he isn't ashamed of them being for kids. And, he got him Legos and everything. And Rick goes over to Carl and telling him the gun isn't needed. We're back to the present now. And Rick is asking Gareth where he got the watch. Gareth tells the sniper to put the gun down. Rick repeats his question again. The guy says the watch is from someone who is dead, and the poncho is from a clothesline. A guy asks Rick who he wants. One of the guys open fires, and Gareth, Alex is killed. This guy's killed. Rick and his team are trying to run away from the gunshots. They're led into a room. They're being shot at again on the run. Daryl's leading them off. The people shooting at them are leading them somewhere. It's just hella of intense at this point. Just really intense. Daryl and Rick run into a room with a bunch of candles lit, and Rick goes over to a door to shut it on them, and Michonne says, I don't think they're going to kill us. She's saying that. She says, I don't think they're trying to kill us. But Rick says, no, it's too good to be true. You can definitely see that. They're now armed by several armed people. They're told to drop their weapons. Rick and their group do exactly that. They drop their weapons like they're told to do, and so intense here. They're told to put the leader on one side. Rick walks over, then Daryl, then Michonne, and they are told to stand at the door. Carl then walks over. Rick then goes ahead. He opens the door of the container, and who does he see? He sees Glenn and literally everyone else here. Even Sasha's there. Bob's there. Even Carol and Tyrese, I think, were there as well. They're all there. And Rick is so surprised to see everyone. He didn't know they were all alive. And we then see one last flashback in this episode. And it's a flashback of Rick, Herschel, and Carl farming together. Beth is taking care of Judith. And Rick says, and Beth is taking care of Judith. That's literally the flashback. And then the very end of the episode, they're all not sure what to do at this point. They're all pretty terrified of what's going to happen to them because, they're locked up in this dark room. They thought they were going to be safe, but obviously they're not. And Rick said that they're going to feel stupid when the people find out they're screwing with the wrong people. So Rick is basically saying, we're going to fight through this. We're not going to let them do this to us. We're not going to let them do anything bad to us. And we have no need to worry. So that was the episode. And I gotta say, by the end of this episode, Rick is officially more of a badass than, Daryl. And this was an amazing, amazing episode. I love this episode so much. It was so intense, just intense scene after intense scene after intense scene. That is how you do it on this show. Just perfect for a finale, definitely. I really loved a lot of stuff in this episode. I loved Rick coming to terms with himself and realizing he needs to be, a leader now. He needs to do whatever he can to keep Carl alive. So what exactly is going to happen to them now? What do I think is actually happening to them? I think these people are cannibals. I think they want to eat them. I think the meat that they want them to eat is, they want them to eat so they'll feel comfortable, but it's actually going to be raw human flesh. I think it's going to be really, really bad for them. We don't know what's going to happen to them, but I don't think it's going to be good. But I cannot wait for Season 5 now, because the way they ended it, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen now. What's going to happen to all of them? Who's going to die? I thought someone was going to die in this episode, but the only people that died was Joe's guys. What do they actually want to do to them? Do you think Rick is a bigger, do you think Rick is the leader now at the group? I think he really was. Did you think the flashbacks were necessary? At first I'm like, what's the point of this? But again, I think it was just to show that Rick is going to carry on Herschel's legacy and be as much of a leader as he was. I think that's kind of what they were showing. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Unfortunately, Walking Dead is over for the season, but I gotta say, it's been an incredible season. I'm so happy I started watching the show this season, because it really is a great show, and I've loved this entire season. It's been so good. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Crisis. So see you then. Bye.